I completed the Throne of Glass series and we are going to discuss it today. This took me a whole year to get through. When I started I was 19. When I finished it I'm turning 20 in 2 weeks, and so was Selena at the Aelin at the end of Kingdom of Ash. So I do feel like I have grown up with her and it's so upsetting. I'm not going to be going in depth about what each book is about. I will talk about it. So we're more so just going to be discussing my feelings at the time and what I do remember the most and what was key to my personal preference. So I read it in the exact order that it comes in, with Assassin's Blade first. Personally, people will do it third, people will do it fourth. Honestly, just do it first. I personally think that one of the novellas is crucial to understand in the first 2 books. And if you're reading it third, you're not going to get the first 2 books as much, and it's going to lack emotion, it's going to lack feeling. So the first one is Assassin's Blade. I gave this book a 4 stars. I loved it. This book is made up of 5 different novellas, and they were both written at different times, and then Sarah J Maas kind of put them together. She set free a bunch of slaves who were being held hostage by the pirate lord Rolf, and then her boss, who works at her assassin's keep, which she's employed at, was obviously fuming because she went, that's not what she's there to do. She's there to do her job and nothing else. He beats up Selena's man, Sam. One was the Red Desert, where she meets a lovely young girl who they're both so similar, both fiery souls, both sassy mother. But at the end they have an argument and Selena says to her, I'm gonna give you until this time and then I'm gonna... And she's like, fine, sorted. This girl rides up into the sunset. Selena sees her and she knows that she can get her if she wants to. She knows that she's left too late and she can... gone. But Selena gives her that extra minute and she lives. And that is the importance of the small acts of kindness. Selena lowered her bow and watched until Ansel disappeared beyond the horizon. 1 arrow that had been her promise. But she also promised Ansel that she had 20 minutes to get out of range. Selena had fired after 21. You meet a girl called 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢 and she is working at a pub and she's in a really bad environment. Selena meets her, gives her a bag of money, just says, get out of here while you still can, this and that, do what you want to do. And she writes her a note, but she never tells her her name. But these novellas are just so important because every single person that Selena meets or does a small, very kind gesture to, they come back in Kingdom of Ash to fight for her crown and fight for a better world, which makes me so emotional because like small acts of kindness really do go a long fucking way. The iconic, the one and only Throne of Glass. I gave this a 4.5 stars, I believe. Assassin's Blade ends with Selena in Endovia. She's taken to the king's castle where she's told she's going to fight as the king's champion. She wins. This whole book is her fighting as the king's champion. She meets the king's prince, Dorian. She meets the king's general of the guards or something, Cole. I'm sorry, but I'm calling him Cole. I refuse to believe his name's Cale. And they're kind of like a love triangle. She gets with Dorian first, then she gets with Cole. Like, she's a diva, let me tell you that. I kind of feel like this book kind of gives Harry Potter based off the fact that she's kind of sneaking around the halls, finding out all these little magical things, as Harry does when he first finds out about Voldemort and the Philosopher's Stone. This book is just a really good introduction and I feel like Sarah J Maas wrote this one really well just to get you really involved and learn about everyone and all the people. I totally forgot to mention that we obviously know and love Sam died in this book, which is why in this book Selena's constantly saying, my name is Selena Sardothien and I'll not be afraid, because that's what Sam used to say when he died. Oh my god, I literally forgot to say one of the key parts in this book. Something that trails out into the next 7 books, I believe it is. Selena and Sam have a plan. Selena, for one of the first times ever, sticks to the plan. Usually she likes to like kind of make things up as she goes along, see what happens, then change courses halfway through, la-di-da. And this is the one plan where she stuck to the fucking plan and Sam ended up dying because she didn't go and save him when she wasn't supposed to. But if she'd just not gone with the plan, she could have easily stopped it in time. Sam dies in this one. Horrible, disgusting, how dare you, Sarah J Maas. In this one, she's grieving massively and obviously she's been a slave for the last year or so. So she's just fighting just to have a life. Just to live, just to survive. One thing to remember, from day one, the king was known as King of Highburn. That was it. He was always King of Highburn. Let's just keep that in mind, guys, until the last book, because that's a crucial point. Crown of Midnight. This was my favourite one of the whole series. Or was Kingdom of Ash. This is when I first started to really get into the books. This was a 4.5. If you're looking into reading Throne of Glass, but you're scared because it's a lot of commitment, Honestly, if you want to just read the first 3 books, you can. In my eyes, these 3 are just a little trio and definitely can be read just as a 3. This does leave on a cliffhanger and things won't be wrapped up by any means, but they have the same vibes. They have the same Harry Potter, Ron, Hermione, Harry golden trio vibes with Cole, Dorian and Selena. This is like when you look back at your childhood, this is the childhood books. This is when Selena starts to realise that magic does still exist. Magic is quite a large part of life still, but it's very underground, low-key. But she does meet Nehemia, but obviously they become best friends. And then at the end, Nehemia dies, which was so sad. And obviously we find out that Cole kind of knew that Nehemia was planning to do something and didn't tell Selena. And Selena blamed Cole for her death. In this whole book, Selena and Cole were like a thing. And then at the end, it's the big scrap where Selena's literally on top of him like, bop, bop, bop. At the very, very end, when she leaves, Cole sends Selena to Wendelin. I can't remember for the life of me why. And she's like, this, I'm going, like, fine, staying here. Get me out of this shithole. And then Cole's like, I love you. And she's like, I'm sorry. And it literally is Gracie Abrams to a T. And every time I hear I love you, I'm sorry by Gracie Abrams, tears streaming down my face like it. And then, iconic, at the end of this book is when we find out that she's actually 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢𝘭𝘴. Cole reads about the Ash River Eyes, which is like a family who have the same eyes. Fairest eyes from legends old, of brightest blue, ringed with gold. A strangled cry came out of him. How many times had he looked into those eyes? How many times had he seen her avert her gaze? That one bit of proof she couldn't hide from the king. Selena Sardothian wasn't in league with 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢𝑭𝘴 Ash River Galathinius. Selena Sardothian was 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝑢𝑛 Ash River Galathinius, heir to the throne and rightful queen of Terrasan. There's also like a monster running around the castle at this point, and she's trying to figure out what this monster is, how it latched itself onto one of the king's champions. Or was that the first book? You know what? They do just blend into one. Heir of Fire was the first book where I was like, 3 stars. I dragged my feet through this book. Looking back, I can appreciate her. I can see why people do like her. But in the moment, honestly, because I just loved Cole and Dorian so much, that having to read about this new guy, Rowan. You also meet Manon Blackbeak for the first time. I did not like her chapters in this book either. I think honestly it's just the whole emotional connection to the other guys. Having to meet 2 new characters, I was not a happy gal. It's kind of an enemies to lovers, so this whole beginning he is training her because of all her past trauma and whatnot. She's really struggling to delve into her magic. He's low-key being like quite aggressive about it, and obviously because she's sassy, she's gonna clap back, and then he claps back, and then before you know it, they're in a fucking scrap. And obviously by the end they're in love, as one does, and by the end of the actual series they're married, so it does work out in the end. But Manon Blackbeak, I can't remember what she goes through in this. I do just know it's about her, obviously her grandmother, her trying to make her family proud, but also what her family wants from her isn't what she wants from herself. So in Crown of Midnight, when Dorian, Cole and Selena tried to stop this monster that was running around the halls of the castle, the evil magic, a healer was helping them behind the scenes on the down low. That is the key information, on the down low. In this book, she becomes a key character. Dorian kind of falls in love with her a little bit. Saoirse the healer was also a secret spy for the rebels, and the king later finds out that she was a spy. At the end, the king chops off her head. Her head rolls along the floor. He picks up her head and tries to put it back on her neck. And dare I say, that was probably the saddest scene I've ever read in my whole life. Queen of Shadows is up next. This is when it went back uphill. At this stage, 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢 knows her magic. She knows what she's doing a little bit more. She's a lot more comfortable in herself and being the queen. Like, she's not actually the queen yet, but she is in line for the throne. Because 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪 killed the yellow legs witch of some sort in, I think it might have been Crown of Midnight. The witches are looking for the witch killer, basically. 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪 totally admits to it. She's like, it was me, bitch. And she has like the teeth marks in her neck to show it. It's like a massive chasing scene where they're like shooting arrows after her, flying after her. And then Manon Blackbeak, the main witch character that we know of, she almost dies, and 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪 actually saves her, weirdly enough. Therefore, Manon now owed her a life debt, and that obviously comes back later to play in the game, which we just love how every little thing 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪 does comes back to serve her times 10. Times fucking 10. It's beautiful. 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪 and Manon are basically frenemies for the next 4 books. I think it's in the end of this book we find out that Dorian's dad is actually a Valg, and therefore he has like a demon inside of him. The demon inside the king basically makes the king put a ward stone collar on his son so the demon can also go inside the son. 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪 wasn't sure if Dorian still had the human, because if the demon's in you long enough, you lose the human. And there comes a point in this book where 𝘴𝘰𝘤 has a plan to try and save Dorian, and then she's like, I'm not even sure if it's worth it anymore because he might not even be in there anymore. It might just be the demon. Is it worth us lot potentially getting captured and dying? Manon speaks to Dorian with the demon inside. Oh, bring back yearning, please. The first conversation Manon and Dorian have, Dorian is able to push aside the demon and speak freely to Manon. And the funniest thing is though, when Dorian himself speaks to Manon, all he does is flirt. It's so fucking funny. Thinking about like, what colour will you bleed, Prince? I think because Manon knew that he had a demon inside him, so she was kind of taking the piss, because if you have a demon in you, you bleed black, not red. And then Dorian comes through and pushes the demon aside and says, I'll bleed whatever colour you tell me to. And then Manon's like, he's still in there, there's still a human in there. And she has to tell 𝘴𝘰𝘤, but she has no way to contact her. She writes on a wall in 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢, 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢, the human is still inside him, which was the most iconic line of potentially this entire book. The next two books have a controversial opinion. So it goes Empire of Storms, then Tower of Dawn. However, some people tandem read them, which basically means you're reading two books at the same time because they happen at the exact same time. I personally read Empire of Storms first, then Tower of Dawn. I was going to tandem read it actually, but I actually forgot. And looking back, I'm very glad that I did not tandem read, only because even though I think I would go back and do it a second time and tandem read, I actually really enjoyed having a second just to do one each and just like take it in. Empire of Storms is actually one of my favourites of the series as well. I actually really love this one. You basically get a lot of 𝘰𝘰𝘪𝘢 and Lorcan, people joining forces, people are really plotting to help 𝘰𝘰𝘤 take her crown back, and then at the very end we see Maeve again. And you know how that goes. There's also a massive war in the last book, but honestly that war was so confusing to read that it just... They try to stop Maeve and kill her. Maeve somehow takes 𝘰𝘰𝘤𝘪 and captures her. 𝘰𝘰𝘤𝘪 gets put in cuffs, a metal mask on her face, everything impossible that could stop her powers, and she gets put into a metal coffin so that she can't escape, and the Kingdom of Ash starts with her still in the coffin. The first lot is very hopeful and cheerful, not cheerful, but like, you're hopeful, you know 𝘰𝘰𝘤𝘪's gonna survive sort of thing, and in the end she's taken away and Rowan's like, where's my wife? And it's really sad and depressing. And then to Sarah J Maas readers, very sad surprise, they realised they then had to read 600 pages, I believe, of coal and zero 𝘰𝘰𝘤𝘪 whatsoever. So you're literally reading this much of a book while knowing that 𝘰𝘰𝘤𝘪 is trapped in a coffin. And literally the guilt you feel reading this book, knowing that she's still trapped, honestly, it feels like she's actually trapped in real life because you're reading this book trying to get through it just so you can save her out this coffin. I actually loved this book. This gets so much shit. I kind of get why, because it is obviously slower than the others. There's no war going on. It's just Cole and Yrene. The war happens and Cole loses feeling from his waist down and can't walk. And he goes to said place to find the best healers that they have, and they try and make him walk again. In very rare cases, people do walk again, but he meets a lovely woman called Yrene who we meet in Assassin's Blade, which is why it's important you read Assassin's Blade. And she is the one who 𝘰𝘰𝘤𝘪 gave the coins to, the note to. She comes back in and it turns out that she took this note and she's carried this note with her all these years, and it persuaded her to travel across the world to this place and become a healer. And she's now arguably the most talented healer in, I think it said 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢𝘴, and she helps Cole. The sad thing is, because Cole is a soldier from Ardalan and the Ardalan soldiers killed Yrene's parents or mum, she's like, I ain't helping him. His people killed my family, like F that. Her boss is obviously like, I understand what you're saying, but if you want to be the best healer possible, you've got to learn to put your emotionals aside and you've got to be able to help innocent people. Like, this man didn't personally do it. She helps him, they argue a lot obviously, and then eventually they fall in love. Turns out Yrene's getting hunted by a 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢 demon of sort. She fucking legs it down the hallway and she can hear it like talking and like calling her name down the hallway. It's so scary to read. And then also 𝘁𝑒𝑟ine 𝘴𝘰𝘁 was Cole's former lover. She meets someone else in this royal family at this said place who Yrene is like friends with all the royal family. And Yrene kind of finds her man as well. They go on a little quest. They find the spiders. I can't remember what their name is. The spiders actually don't end up in the alliance because Maeve was already... She got them good, girl. This book is basically just Cole and Yrene gathering all information they can. One, actually to heal Cole's leg so he can walk. but 2, to help 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢 win this war. And last but not least, the book itself, Kingdom of Ash. Look how stunning she is. I haven't finished tabbing yet. I've got this last little section to tab, but she is beautiful. This was a 5-star book, obviously. Thing is though, if this was like an individual book, I actually would have given it like 4, 4.5, but because it's the last book in a series, just read an 8-book fucking series, giving this anything less than a 5 would be criminal. Also because of the way it's done so well, the way everything ties in, the way everyone comes together is so beautiful. Everyone you see in the past books who actually survived comes into this book to help 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢 survive. So obviously at the beginning, 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝘪𝘢 is set free from her shackles. Reading it was so depressing, I can't lie to you. Like 𝘴𝘰𝘄𝑚𝑟𝑦𝑠, because he had a blood oath to Maeve, if you break out the blood oath, which one is really hard, but if you do manage it, you die. He breaks free to save 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝑚. He's like on the verge of death, should I say, and as 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝑚's running, she gets to Rowan finally, and she's like, 𝘴𝘰𝘄𝑚_𝑟𝑦𝑠 is back there literally dying after saving me. They run back, she gives him the blood oath, which then saves 𝘴𝘰𝘄𝑚_𝑟𝑦𝑠. 𝘴𝘰𝘤𝑚's really struggling with her trauma, obviously, as you would, but they're all very supportive, which is great. Manon also unites all of the witch clans, so the witches usually battle against each other, and for the first time in God knows how long, Manon brings them all together, and she is now known as the Queen of Witches, which is stunning. Dorian goes to retrieve the final ward key from Maeve. He learns how to shift so he can disguise himself. There's like a first mini war where there's a big dam full of water and the dam breaks. However, just before that, Elyde goes to save Lorcan because Lorcan hasn't come back yet, and she's like, I'm not leaving without him, like I made him a promise. And that was the cutest fucking thing ever, where she was like, I promised you I would always come and find you, and I'm gonna fucking do that even if it kills me. So she does that. Then we've got the final war where obviously everyone comes together. Aelin does a really good job at trying to distract Erewhon and Maeve. Oh my god. I forgot about that. Right, so there's also a part, they all have a vote about whether Aelin should sacrifice herself now and put all the ward keys together once they have them, or if she should wait and try and find another way first and just fight it out. And it's so sad because they have a vote and they all vote for Aelin to sacrifice herself and just do it now. Obviously not happily, but she was kind of hoping that they would just let her put it aside so she could just live and not shit herself, do you know what I mean? Like, but she does it, she puts the ward keys in, and when she should be dying, she ends up falling through these worlds, and oh my god, I cried so hard. You see the ACOTAR world, you see the Crescent City world, you see her fall through all these worlds, and Rysand slows her fall and saves her from just like splashing to the floor. Dorian's also doing it with her because he said he would, because he didn't want her to do it alone. They have the same magic, they have the same blood in their line and whatnot. And that is when Dorian's dad comes back onto the scene after dying in Queen of Shadows, I believe it was. He basically is like, let me do it. We have the same blood, let me just do it. And they're like, yeah, you do, but nameless is my price. Like, it's my thing that I have to be doing. And he's like, well, what's my name then? The sass, honestly. And they're like, obviously your name's shit, like what is your name? And Dorian's obviously getting agitated because he's like, you're literally my dad, obviously I know your name. Turns out no one knew his name. Like, how did none of us realise that in the first like 5 books the King of Highburn was just the King of Highburn? Let me actually scoot back because the sun's gonna look really bad otherwise. The King of Highburn was just the King of Highburn. We never ever knew his name and none of us noticed. That's crazy. Aelin pushes Dorian out of this fallen worlds thing, and the King of Highburn, I'm getting really bored. The King of Highburn kind of takes Dorian's place. Dorian lives, Aelin's still kind of dying. Aelin speaks to all the gods, she destroys the gods' world. Later on, when Erewhon's dying, because Yrene, I think it was Yrene and Elyde who killed him, because Yrene took the Val demon out of him. Dorian was like, wait, I need to ask one question. What's my father's name? It was Erewhon who put the demon in the king. So Erewhon obviously knew who the king's name was like, in the first place. And Erewhon's like, he never bowed, not completely. The king actually never remembered his name until the first time he held you. And that is how Dorian got his name, because when the king held Dorian for the first time, he remembered his name and called him Dorian. Are you telling me Sarah J Maas fucking planned this from book 1? It took her 8 books to put this back into the plot. She must have been kicking her feet, so excited to finally use that fucking plot twist, because God knows, I would have told everyone. I'd have been too excited to keep it a secret because that was fucking incredible. Maeve's army is like pushing these witch towers towards them all in the war, and then the 13 use their powers. And Manon's basically saying we need to do something because we're still here living, and that means there's more to be done. And Ashrin looks at Manon, pats her on the shoulder, and it says to her, nah. We obviously know that Manon used to always say to 𝘰𝘰, live, because 𝘰𝘰 was like ruthless at one point. And Ashrin looks at Manon and says, live Manon, live. And the 13 all give each other a look, and Manon's like, what the fuck is going on? And they fly into the sky, they fly straight into these witch towers, and I don't know how it works, but obviously witches have magic, so it's just them being witches in it. And they explode along with the witch tower. Imagine all your friends sacrificing themselves for a better world. Obviously it's really sad, but if Manon had died, that is a singular person. They all 13, or was it all 12? I guess all 12 sacrificed themselves for one person and a better world. It makes me so sad. When Aileen cried because, well no, was it Aileen or Dorian who cried because they saw Cole walking? Too much. When Dorian said to Yrene, I've always wanted a sister.